During prolonged fasting, first of all, carbohydrates are utilized, which include glycogen stored in liver. This is followed by the breakdown of adipose tissue, thus providing lipids, and lastly, the body utilizes proteins. Inspiration is initiated by the contraction of diaphragm, which increases the volume of thoracic chamber in the anterior posterior axis. The contraction of external intercostal muscles increase the volume of the thoracic chamber in the dorsoventral axis. Asthma is an allergic disorder in which wheezing sound is produced due to inflammation of bronchioles. Respiratory quotient RQ value of triplamidin is 0 to 7. Asthma is a difficulty in breathing causing wheezing due to inflammation of bronchi and bronchioles. Emphysema is a chronic disorder in which alveolar walls are damaged due to which respiratory surface is decreased. Silicosis is due to excess inhalation of silica dust in the workers involved in grinding or stone breaking industries. Long exposure can give rise inflammation leading to fibrosis and thus causing serious lung damage. Anthrax is a serious infectious disease caused by Bacillus anthracis. It commonly affects domestic and wild animals. Emphysema is a chronic disorder in which alveolar walls are damaged due to which respiratory surface is decreased. Botulism is a form of food poisoning caused by Clostridium botulinum. Volume of air present in lungs after forceful expiration as a residual volume, which prevents the collapsing of alveoli even after forceful expiration. Volume of air present in lungs after forceful expiration as a residual volume, which prevents the collapsing of alveoli even after forceful expiration. Krebs cycle starts with condensation of acetyl CoA 2C with oxalic acetic acid 4C to form citric acid 6C. Mitochondria are the site of aerobic oxidation of carbohydrates to generate ATP. Partial pressure of oxygen in alveoli of lungs is 104 mm of Hg, that is more than that of blood in pulmonary artery 40 mm of Hg. Lungs do not collapse between breaths and some air always remains in the lung, which can never be expelled because there is a negative intrapleural pressure pulling at the lung walls. Cigarette smoking leads to a chronic disorder called emphysema. Asthma is an allergic response leading to inflammatory disease of the airways with episodes of reversible overreactivity of airway smooth muscles. Reduction in pH of blood will decrease the affinity of hemoglobin with oxygen. Chemoreceptors in the medulla get stimulated by increase in carbon dioxide concentration in the blood of arteries. Decreases in O2 concentration has no significant effect on the chemoreceptors. In certain industries, especially those involving grinding or stone breaking, so much dust is produced that the defense mechanism of the body cannot fully cope with the situation. Long exposure can give rise to inflammation leading to fibrosis, means proliferation of fibrous tissues and thus causing serious lung damage. Workers in such industries should wear protective masks. As a person moves up a hill, the PO2 and total atmospheric pressure decreases in PO2 due to the increasing altitude stimulates the JG cells of kidney to secrete erythropoietin hormone, which increases the number of RBCs, means polycythemia, to compensate the supply of O2. At higher altitude, hemoglobin has lower binding to O2 because the primary factor responsible for binding is PO2, which decreases at higher altitude. Respiratory capacities and respiratory volumes. Residual volume 1200 ml, vital capacity 4500 ml, inspiratory reserve volume 2500 ml, inspiratory capacity 3500 ml. There are 12 pairs of ribs which form the bony lateral walls of the thoracic cage. The first 7 pairs are called true ribs. 8, 9, and 10 pairs are called false ribs. The last 2 pairs of ribs are called floating ribs because their anterior ends are not attached either to the sternum or cartilage of another rib. The floating ribs protect the kidneys. Vital capacity is the sum of vital capacity and residual volume. That is, vital capacity of our lungs is total lung capacity minus residual volume. Total capacity is the sum of vital capacity and residual volume. That is, vital capacity of our lungs is total lung capacity minus residual volume. Tidal volume is the amount of air which normally passes into and out of the lungs during each cycle of quiet breathing. It is about 800 ml in an adult person. Inspiratory reserve volume is the extra volume of air that can be inhaled into lungs during deepest possible inspiration. Since RBCs do not have mitochondria, so they can respire only anaerobically. At high altitudes, the atmospheric O2 level is less and hence more RBCs are needed to absorb the required amount of O2 to survive. That is why the people living at sea level have around 5 million RBCs per mm3 of their blood, whereas those living at an altitude of 5400 meter have around 8 million RBCs per mm3 of their blood. The breathing becomes faster and deeper in order to oxygenate the blood at a fast rate. Shallow and slow breathing occurs during rest. Carboxyhemoglobin is a stable product formed by the association of CO and Hb in the blood. The association of carbon dioxide and hemoglobin forms carboaminohemoglobin.